Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pop-Up TV, Pop-Up Jim Bob TV. We are here for the next however many minutes it takes to celebrate the release of this amazing album out yesterday in all good record shops. And here's the CD version. And I am joined by Jim Bob via the Zoom. Hello, Jim Bob.
Hello, Marc Ollington. How are you?
I am rocking and a-rolling, very excited. Jim, your album's finally out.
I know. I could take this off. It's you. I know, it's amazing. It's been, for me, well, for you as well, but it's been, I didn't realise till the other day, it's been like a year. Well, not quite a year, but almost exactly a year since it started.
And it's been quite a big build-up to the album coming out, hasn't it, Jim?
Yeah, biggest build-up to anything I've ever done, I think.
But
because of the pre-release situation.
Yes, but I think it's probably worth the wait, though, Jim. Wouldn't you say?
It certainly is for me. Yes, I'm confident that it's a fantastic and brilliant album. But obviously, who knows? People might hear it and go, "Don't like that. I prefer the other three songs."
Will they be fools if they do? But Jim, you mentioned then that it was almost a year ago since you started working on the album. So when did you actually decide to start working on what is now Pop-Up Jim Bob?
It was when was the Hood Rats tour?
Oh, it was before we went on September time, wasn't it? Because then we went on tour with the Wonder Stuff after that.
So that doesn't make sense.
October.
With my timeline, doesn't make sense. But it must have been because it was all tied into that. I did the Shepherd's Bush gig with them, didn't I?
Yes, back in March.
I think that set me off thinking that I'd like to record something with a band, specifically with those people. And Christopher Thorpe Tracy, whatever he's called these days, Chris TT at the time. So was he still Chris TT? I don't know. He was very sort of. He badgered me into, kept saying, well, it'd be great to record it. And then eventually that sort of thought germinated. So that was the start of it. So that was why it was around about that time, I suppose.
What was the first song, Jim, you actually wrote and finished?
Finished, I'd say, because when I started, I was having trouble with the lyrics. I didn't have confidence that the words were any good. And then I hit upon this idea of writing a load of songs about and naming them in the songs. So I think the first song was Joe's Got Paper Cuts, because it started out as I've Got Paper Cuts, and then it just sounded really irritating. Like, listen to me with all my problems. So then I sort of put it on this person Joe, and then so logically following on from that probably was an early version of Barry's on Safari. And then at some point I ditched the named idea, but that's what got me going. So Joe's Got Paper Cuts was probably the first. And I think You're Cancelled and We're Done, which is the last song. I remember writing that when I was walking to rehearse with the Hood Rats for the gigs. So that was quite early on as well.
It's quite is angry the right word, Jim? I mean, I love the album. It's brilliant, but it definitely hasn't got much in the way of happy, jolly songs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, which is good. It's quite sort of, even though it's a lot of it's quite upbeat, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it sounds upbeat.
Yeah, but yeah, there's no, which is good that it's sort of, if there's any kind of concept to it. Usually when I do I've done concept albums before, and with the exception of School, I usually sort of don't quite make it for the whole album. So there'll be like 7 concept songs and then 3 that loosely fit in. Whereas they all sort of fit that feeling that I had at that time of despair and probably anger, but had nowhere to direct it. So directed it into the songs.
It's probably a very good time for it coming out, Jim, as well, after the crazy year that it's been.
Yeah. And I don't think it would have been, if there was no coronavirus, I still think it would have been a shitty year, wouldn't it? For a lot of people. I don't think it was going anywhere, was it?
No, it started off with like floods and then bad stuff politically, and then ended up with not a brilliant year. This is a really, really bad question. I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have a favourite song on the album?
I do have let me grab a copy.
Yeah, I've got a copy here. So, Jim, if you need to look at the track listing, and we'll talk about the amazing artwork a bit later on, but that is the track listing there, ladies and gentlemen.
My neighbours are having a party, which I should feel
Is it
sort of.
go on.
I should feel happiness for them that they've got something to celebrate, but really, it's quite annoying.
Well,
It's quite selfish.
Well, while Jim's looking for his favourite song, viewers, I will say that we're recording this a few days earlier. It's maybe the hottest day of the year. I've got quite a busy road near my house. I've closed the windows. I think I'm going to pass out at any point. This is what we do for you to bring you this amazing televisual experience.
Yeah. So
Jim,
so when it goes out, so when it's going out now, when it's going out and we're commenting on it live, it's probably snowing, isn't it? But anyway, my favourite song. Do you know what? I don't necessarily have a favourite song because they're all so great. But there are sort of, I mean, Joe's Got Paper Cuts. I was immensely pleased with when that was quite early on, and Thoughts and Prayers. Actually, there's something Truce. For a while, Truce was my favourite because it had so many. It had things going on it that I sort of liked, like, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I found that song is definitely what I call a grower. The first time I listened to that, I knew it was great, but I thought, oh, yeah. But then third or fourth listen, there's lots of little things melodically that get you after a while.
Yeah.
That was definitely worth persevering. And the lyrics are just stunning, Jim, that one, I do have to say.
Thank you very much. And then something like Barrows on Safari is probably the song that I could probably listen to the most. I quite a sort of, I don't know why, but I kind of sort of, because normally I wouldn't listen to my own stuff. But if I had to.
Do you listen to your own stuff much previously?
Not really, no. Only usually if I'm making an album, obviously I have to listen to it and doing gigs and playing it and stuff. But no, I would never listen to it for the sheer joy. Because I'm always expecting things to either I hear things that I was never happy with, which luckily this album doesn't have very few of them, possibly like hardly any. There's usually most of my records have got bits that I hate because I couldn't sing as well as I should have done, or something like that, or I wish that we had got the choir on that bit or whatever it is. But there's not really any of that on this. But I do still listen to, you know, like checking test pressings. I hate doing things like that, or looking, because I'm expecting something to be wrong. So even though I've heard the album quite a few times, if I listen to it now, I'd still be waiting for it to speed up, or, you know, or side 2 would be take that album or something like that by mistake. So yeah, so no, I don't listen to my own stuff.
We've got a special guest coming up later. In fact, we've got 2 special guests, viewers, so stay tuned. So with our second special guest, I'm going to talk more about the kind of making and production of the album. But before we do that, just on that side of it, obviously you were working with a band, as you mentioned, on this album. Did it make it different? Of course, you've used other people in the past, and many people in that band have been on your previous solo albums. But did it feel more like you were working with a existing band, if that makes sense? Did it make a difference to it?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I should make it clear, we didn't go into a studio and jam the songs and then everybody like co-wrote them and we all got, it's not that kind of situation. I very much wrote the songs and went in there with them kind of having a rough idea what I wanted people to do. So, but it did feel like a band. It didn't feel like five people who I knew who could play the instruments just coming together. It was certainly the main core, because there's a few other people on it. But it felt like I couldn't have done it with a different bass player or a different drummer. You know, I wanted that band. If that makes sense.
It does make total sense. And it is obviously, it's a shame because we were meant to be out on the rock and roll road doing a few gigs both this month and also in December as well. And that won't happen for Jim. Oh yeah, I know. So bit of a shame. Oh yes, it would have been Edinburgh today, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, bit of a shame. I know, but hopefully that will still happen, Jim, at some point.
I hope so, yeah. And hopefully like in you know, the old normal rather than playing to 6 people in a car park.
Yes, I don't really fancy that, to be quite honest with you.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's looks shit, doesn't it? I mean, obviously I'm going to be asked to do it at some point, but it does look shit, doesn't it? That, it does. Either the cars or the other thing where you've got a venue where the audience can be 30 foot down lower than the band, or the band are playing on a roof or something. Do you know what I mean?
It's all a bit bonkers.
All just looks horrendous. But,
it really, yes, but we'll see what happens out there, viewers. But Jim, before I should point out to the people watching as well. So for the rest of this, it's not just me and Jim chatting, as good as that is. We've also got Jim performing some songs from the album as well, which is going to be brilliant. One coming up very soon, and we've also got competitions, which is great. And Jim has got the first. We're going to have 2 competitions today. Exciting times. The first competition is for, what is it, Jim?
It's a test pressing of Pop-Up Jim Bob, which I'll sign it, but I haven't signed it yet because I thought whoever wins it might want me to write to Jeff from Jim Bob or something like that. You fat bastard, Sheriff Fat Man, whatever. I usually write on these things. So test pressing, which there are only 4,000. There's about I think there are 5 in the world, and this is one of those 5. So that's the prize. Do you have
a question, Jim, or what something the viewers need to do to win this test pressing?
It's a question which I think is fairly simple for anybody who's followed the progress of this album, which is what or who can Joe no longer dance to?
Do you hear that, everyone? What can Joe... Repeat the question, Jim. So I've already got it already.
What or who can Joe no longer dance to, or knows what she knows she can no longer dance to?
So I want your answer, everybody, on electronic mail to garysausages@gmail.com. That's all one word, garysausages@gmail.com. With your answer, please also state your name and address. And what we would do is I would then do a random draw. The closing date is going to be at the end of next week. So that would be closing date. That date-wise, I'll give you the exact date for that. Ever the professional. Closing date would be the 23rd of August. Okay? 23rd of August.
Good day.
So that is the closing date for the test pressing. So and if you're watching this now on the Facebook Live and people are commenting in the chat, don't put the answer. Someone might have already done it. And if the case, you can nick that answer, but I'd advise you, don't put the answer. Okay, there's more competitions coming up later. Yeah. But speaking of that song, Jim,
you should have opened with "Don't put the answer" because people have already put the answer.
I should have done, Jim, but I haven't. And also, there's now be a massive clue coming up as well because you've got a song we're now gonna play. So you've got no excuse not to get this answer right at all.
That's true. So shall I introduce this song?
Yeah.
So this was recorded even earlier than this early. This is all like. It's like Back to the Future. So I recorded these songs, all of these songs. So it's just me and a guitar, either electric or acoustic. So this sound will be as it is. But I think halfway through this particular song, it's about the 10th time I did it, half the contents of my room fell off a shelf onto the floor. So if you listen carefully about halfway through, it's a massive crash. This is Joe's Got Paper Cuts.
Joe's got paper cuts from reading reports about knives, thinking of all their young lives, made her feel ancient inside. And every day she's doing her best to stay focused, hoping that hope isn't hopeless, sleeping the sleep of the tired. Joe knows it is what it is now. She can dance to the Smith sound. Show us which side she is on. And it's still strong. Got the freedom to say what they
And that was Joe's Got Paper Cuts by Jim Bob. And look at this. The two-way has become a three-way. Yes.
A very pleasant three-way. How lovely.
We are here. We are joined by Christopher Thorpe Tracy. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. The viewers might notice my headphones have changed after that song. Don't worry, viewers, nothing's wrong. Just wanted to mix it up a little bit. But yeah,
Terrible continuity. That's awful.
Very, very excited that, Chris, you're here to celebrate the release of Pop-Up Jim Bob.
I am very excited. I am about it as well. How are you, Jim Bob?
I'm good, Chris. I'm
excellent.
Good. I'm hot. We've explained that this was recorded a week ago, so it's on the hottest day of the year.
Yeah.
So if we look like Conservative MPs being grilled on something unpleasant, it's just the weather.
Yeah, it is a warm day.
Yeah,
it is, Chris. But thank you for joining us on this. What is the most amazing party ever?
It's really pleasant to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Mark.
But I wanted to talk to you, Chris, because once again you are involved in the making of a Jim Bob album, Chris. You also feature on this one, do you not?
He can't get rid of me. It's like he says, "Oh, I'm going to make an album again." I'm like, me. I've got to be part of it. Let me in. Let me do something. So yeah.
And Chris, and what do you do on this album?
Mostly on this one, I play some keyboard and some piano-y bits, and a bit of maybe a bit of electric guitar, although maybe not. I have a less clear memory. No, Jim's shaking his head, so I don't think I played any electric guitar at all.
No.
I've sort of got some of it muddled with the live shows, which obviously partly the album came out of us doing some live shows last year, which we really enjoyed, where it was the Hood Rats, my old band, being a backing band for Jim, and so that was, I guess, how the album started to take shape around us. So that's how I got the chance to be a part of it again, was having played some guitar on the live shows and some piano with Jim, as I always tend to do. Yeah, so I think I just play keyboards, maybe just a bit of piano here and there. I'm not really on it that much.
You played all the piano.
Oh right, okay.
You definitely played, and you played some. You played a certain amount of the keyboards, but I was a bit when I did the credits. I thought, who played on this? I think it's because what you said about the Hood Rats, because it was, although we don't necessarily play, everyone doesn't necessarily play the same thing in the studio as they did live, if that makes sense.
No, not at all. And also because Jim brought to the sessions quite fully realised demos. Like the songs were already arranged, they were complete songs, and they kind of already sounded pretty good actually as demo form. And then it was a case of us kind of putting things on top of the demos to swap out, drum machine for live drums and that sort of thing. So in fact, some of the keyboards on the album are Jim's demo keyboards, and then some of the keyboards on the album are John in the studio, and then some are me. So it's all a bit of a muddle. I don't mind that at all though, because I kind of like, if anything, I'm one of the reasons I'm still enjoying listening to album over and over again, ages after we finished it, is because I have that feeling of it still can surprise me about who did what and how it sounds and things.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot of John, as you say, John. There's quite a lot of John. Because John Clayton mixed the album, and he mixed almost all of it without anybody else being there. So I'd sort of so then he'd sort of send me a mix, and I'd think like, don't remember any of that. So basically, I think that's it. But John would add things, wouldn't he?
Yeah, John's just removed everything and re-recorded everything himself.
So that was, but that kind of made it exciting for me, because it wasn't, because I could hear things. Certain songs he's changed to enough, enough of an extent for it to be exciting for me to listen to.
Yeah, that it comes back to you with just different nuances to the song that you hadn't had before. Yeah, that's true. I think it's been one of the most pleasurable album experience of doing a Jim Bob album for that reason. Like we keep being surprised all the way through the process. So when we first started, it was even that was a surprise. Like obviously Jim was pretty immersed in writing novels, So I wasn't really, even though we'd had like some shows and we'd had a lot of fun and we'd done the Shepherd's Bush Empire stuff and it was all feeling very successful and enjoyable, I still wasn't expecting, oh, here's a bunch of new songs I've written. It's a whole album's worth of songs. And then he turns up only a couple of days, maybe only a few days after that, with pretty much complete demos. Like the whole album was recorded. And did you do that at home, Jim, the demo version?
I did, yeah. It took me longer than 2 days. But, yeah, I did do it at home. Yeah, I sort of... 'cause I think I'm unfortunately I'm talking about me now rather than you, but deluding
That's all
myself that I would often say, I think I said it to you and John, that what I'd like to do is write the songs, give them to someone, and then they just record them and then give them back to me finished. But
Yeah.
I think that's a lie. That I don't think that's necessarily true. Because
What you want to do is you want to do that, but when you get the songs back, you want them to sound exactly as you want them to sound.
yeah, basically.
So it's an impossible. You have to be there to kind of direct the bit that you don't really want to be there and direct.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of being, a singer.
Yeah.
Or writes the songs and then just sings them, and someone else does everything else.
Yeah,
But
like you'd be Nick Cave and you'd have a Warren Ellis that could just do that.
Yeah, but even less involvement than that.
Oh, wow.
But then it's more like Little Mix or something. I imagine. I don't imagine a Little Mix sitting there with the acoustic guitars and putting everything together. Then maybe I'm wrong. Let's not
I
say
think
Little
you're
Mix.
right. They probably have songs pitched to them that are already produced to the point of it being a final recording, and then they just have to go and choose who's going to sing what line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And even that they probably leave to producers and arrangers to go, oh yeah, come and sing these 4 lines and then hear it and it's a finished song. So really what you're saying is like being a pop singer.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, but I know it's not. I know I'm lying to myself.
In the old days they had that, didn't they? You'd have an arranger, so you'd be Frank Sinatra and you'd have Nelson Riddle do all the arrangements and conduct the orchestra, and you just show up and sing.
What Tom Jones supposedly would do, only ever do 2 takes. So he would, whether it's not true or not, maybe that's why he would say shit later in life. I don't know. But he would just come into the studio, go, "Whoa," and then sing the song twice, and then he'd leave, and that would be it. That would be.
I would say, Mark, that Jim himself, when he says that, Jim is a very fast vocal take person.
You know that David Bowie only ever did 2 takes.
David Bowie, yeah.
Really? So most singers I've worked with over the years will need you could almost say, well, we'll need half a day per track to get that track. And then if they do well, they'll do 3 or 4 takes of the whole thing, and then you chop it together, and then they'll do some extra bits. Or if they're not going so well, they'll do literally line by line. That's that's a totally normal thing in recording. Whereas Jim, over the years, he's just come in and done 2 or 3 takes of the vocal and gone, that's fine, that's it. And it always sounds, I mean, you've got a really characterful voice, so you can get away with it because you just sound like you.
I would say on this particular occasion, it's happened before with maybe the last couple of albums, because John was there then as well, but was more aware of it this time. He's very good at John Clayton again. Big up John Clayton. He's very good at sort of knowing when I've done the right vocal. So if I
completely agree.
So I might say, oh, that's that's good enough, and he'll say, oh, I think you should just try it one more time. And then when we're choosing, like, say we're choosing one verse from one take because it's better than another one, he like 99% of the time he chose the same one as me.
Yeah.
Right.
I've had that experience with him as well. I think he's really, like, he'll know which syllable in a line that isn't quite, like, he'll go, oh, that was a great line, and then he'll know even down to the syllable which bit isn't quite right, and maybe you have to do a tiny bit of it again.
Yeah.
And he always remembers that in the whole song. So yeah, we did benefit from John's. I feel like this album was made by you and John together, most of it, and then the rest of us.
Don't say that, because it'll be after more money. So we're just going to say it's mainly Jim, a little bit of John, and that's fine. Chris, I'm going to have to. Time is getting on, and
I'm really sorry, and I haven't answered any of your questions at all. So
it's amazing, because that means it's a natural chat. That's what the viewers love. This is brilliant. But Chris, before you do go, I've got to ask this of everyone.
That's
today.
fine. Yeah, I'm happy to do some more questions.
No. One question. What is your favourite song, Chris, on the album, and why?
I think Thoughts and Prayers is my... Oh, well, no, I've got two favourites. So my first thought then was
Chris,
to say...
I'm not got time for two of your favourites.
Okay, well, forget that. I'm going to say Truce then. I remember sending some emails
you
out.
You can't have Truce. Jim had Truce.
No!
What's your second favourite?
Can I have Thoughts and Prayers then?
Yeah.
You know, he stole the idea of doing a hashtag title off me. So that was the first thing. And then it's just a beautiful, like, I mean, you're sitting there, so it gets embarrassing. I think of you as a dear old friend, Jim, not that old. And at the same time, I sort of want to quell over how absolutely astonishing the lyric writing and the singing is on this record. And that song is the equal to any of the really heartbreaking Carter USM songs. It's like a classic Jim song. It's beautiful.
Well, Chris, thank you for that.
Chris.
Thank you for joining us today.
No, it's a pleasure. It's been really nice to be here.
That's great.
I thought it's just when you said there's just one more question, I honestly thought you were going to say, "Is that a ponytail?"
Stop it. Jim, will you introduce the next song and we can talk during the song to Chris a bit more about his ponytail? Do you want to introduce the next tune coming up?
Hopefully it's the right one, but it doesn't really matter. The next one is If It Ain't Broke.
If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. You break it, smash it, tear it apart into pieces. Kill it, remove the heart when it's dead. If you've got nothing nice to say, you say it, spray it, print it on front of a hat, and wear it to gun shows and play it on God. You burn it, frack it, poison the wells and the land, denying the thing that you don't understand. If you meet someone kind-hearted and beautiful, you gaslight and ghost them and make them feel worthless inside. You're frightened by love and you call it straight pride.
Was another brilliant song performed by Jim. I say brilliant. I haven't heard any of these recordings yet. They could be terrible, but Jim insists to me they're really, really good. We are now joined, as you can see, of the freeway is now a four-way, and we've been joined by Marc Reynolds. Now, those of you at home who don't know who Marc Reynolds is, let me tell you, he is the chap that has designed the artwork on this fantastic album. And we are delighted that he is here today to talk about the art, because quite frankly, it has lifted the whole experience to a new level. So hello, Marc, how are you?
Hello, yeah, not too bad, thanks, not too bad. Thank you for inviting me on.
Not at all, Marc, we're delighted to have you here on Pop-Up Jim Bob TV, what I'm calling
Excellent.
it. So, Marc, I'm going to carry on with my great interviewing techniques. Graham Norton's producers haven't been on the phone yet, only a matter of time before I'm off to do a holiday cover. But anyway, Marc, how did you start to work with Mr. Bob here? How did that happen?
So, yeah, it's been like a whirlwind. I started drawing stuff, like I only started drawing anything like 2.5 years ago, I think, because my brother sort of strong-armed me into doing some drawings for a book that he wrote. And it took me ages to learn the bit of software to do it. And then I thought, he's just going to ask me again in like 2 months' time. So I'm going to keep drawing stuff just so I don't forget how to use it because my memory's pretty ropey. And that coincided with the first Shepherd's Bush gig. And in sort of like a post-gig high, I drew a picture, quite a bad picture in retrospect, of Jim and put it on the Facebook page. And it got like a really good response. Loads of people were very kind and said positive stuff about it. And then it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. I started doing more stuff, ever trying to get praise from people, basically. More people on the Facebook were like, oh, that's good. So, I kept doing that. And then you asked me to do a T-shirt, which led on to the autobiographies. And it's just kind of gone from there, really. So, it's been very, very exciting.
Go on, Jim.
I was going to say, it's a bit like the mafia, isn't it? Once you're in.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Chris knows that. Chris has been on how many albums now of mine? Because I don't know any other artists. That's not saying that I would rather use anyone else.
If I did,
but I'm just saying you are literally so you're not going anywhere.
Mark, flee. Flee now.
Run.
But Mark, I do have to say, I mean, I loved all your stuff. Your cover for God Awful Small Affair was wonderful.
Yeah,
stuff that you did, obviously, for Goodnight Jim Bob and Jim Bob from Carter Books was brilliant too. When you got the brief, though, from Jim to do this album, it's a pretty big undertaking, right? For those of you that have seen the album, there is multiple Jim Bobs throughout both the CD and the vinyl. There's different artwork on both. There is a lot of stuff and a lot of work had to go into this. Was you daunted when Jim first kind of broached you with the as we say,
the only thing that was slightly daunting was, I think at that point I hadn't really done much. I started off doing the cartoony stuff because I was new to drawing, I didn't really know what I was doing, so that felt a bit easier. And then I started to attempt clunkily to do sort of more realistic stuff. But I was kind of cheated. I tended to draw things that were like very immediately recognizable, like Freddy Krueger or like Ziggy era Bowie, things where there's like a big wide goalpost where even if it doesn't really look like the person, you hit those things like a big light, put a lightning bolt on it, people think it's Bowie, so it's easy. So that part was daunting because I thought, how the hell am I going to actually? I need to be able to draw to be able to do this. So the head of Jim Bob that is on the album took probably the longest part. There's a lot of really weird that involved. There's some really sketchy early ones I never showed anyone.
It was the lips, wasn't it? It was the lips.
Yeah, that's
you did when you did the first what are they, illustrations? They were brilliant, but I didn't have the heart to sound like the lips because they were all very sort of
sort of Kenneth Williams.
They're all a bit Kenneth Williams.
I'm glad you did though, because it's one of those things where if you stare at it for ages and you lose all objectivity. So I didn't pick up on that until you mentioned it, or I think
I think we went for, didn't we go for the obligatory? It's good, but could you make me slightly younger? and then you went too far the other way. I said, okay, they were the only considerate. Apart from that, everything else you did was just like spot on first time.
And are you pleased with it, Mark? I mean, obviously you're going to say yes because we're trying to sell as many as we possibly can. But was it a thrill when you saw the final finished product?
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was really exciting, despite having worked on it for quite a long time. Really, I think because it was just before the gigs last year that you approached me, because I remember going to those gigs and not telling my brother, who's obviously a big Bob Cop fan as well, that I was going to do it. In my mind, I was working on like the next day the Bowie album, and it was tight constrictions, couldn't tell anyone. Despite having worked on it for ages, to still finally getting in my hands was very exciting. It still is, really.
Yeah, especially when you see a vinyl. I mean, people talk about vinyl coming back and all this business, but there's nothing quite like holding a vinyl, is there? And appreciating the artwork and everything else. And it is beautiful. This is where my sales pitch comes in, viewers, but it's a beautiful gatefold, isn't it? It looks lovely, it smells lovely, and it's got an amazing calendar in it as well. But the whole thing is just so nicely done. So it must be something to be quite proud of, Mark, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it really is. It's
Mark, you did an amazing job on it. Honestly, it is a beautiful artifact, and the illustrations look so rich. They look real. They look like you could almost imagine a cartoon series of it or something. You created a universe for him. It's brilliant.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
I would agree with that, Christopher. Beautifully put, eloquently put. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, Mark, for coming along to talk about... Oh, no, I've got to ask my question. Jesus.
Again, I misunderstood again. Like, I read too much into you as a person, Mark Ollington.
Yeah.
Earlier on when you said just one more thing, Chris, and
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, "What is that, a ponytail?" But then you said, "What did you say? Just say then."
I was going to ask what Mark was his favourite song on the album.
But the way you led up, you said, "I can't remember what you said now." So
Go
you
on,
said-
say it.
you led into it as though you were going to say, "And now you and now." I thought you could say "fuck off." That's it. You really looked like you were leading up to a comedy.
I would not
then
do
you-
that. I think Mark Reynolds is gone to huge things, and we don't pay him very much, so we've got to look after him the best way we can. We can't afford to offend him, seriously. Honestly, man.
Have you had the Sky offer yet?
Only a matter of time. Mark, so what is your favourite song on the album and why?
I think now it's kind of changed a little bit, like because you sent me the demos initially. Joe's Got Paper Cuts kind of leapt out as being, sort of hit single, waiting to happen kind of thing. I really, really like that. I think on the finished thing, Kid Strike might be my favourite. How it's kind of transformed from the demo to the kind of wall of sound kind of thing. It's,
I will admit, Mark, that on the demo, I really hated Kid Strike.
Did you?
Yeah, I listened to it and I thought this just sounds terrible.
It was the only one, Chris, wasn't it? You didn't like. It was the only one.
It was the only song, and I was like really struggling with it because because what Jim was trying to do was signal where we should go as a band, which I thought he did really well. But I didn't get it, and I didn't get it until it was live instruments at all, and then suddenly it just went boom.
Yeah, it's so much more sort of bombastic or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess
And it is basically, is it Golden Years or Fame? What is it?
It is a bit of fame, actually, isn't it?
There was a point when we were like in the middle of recording when we thought, it was when Jen was doing guitars. Me and Jen were doing this kind of funky guitar thing, and just suddenly realised that it was almost exactly the same as an In Excess song. So we had to sort of pull back a bit from that point, and then we ended up turning it into Fame instead.
But it sounds all the better for it. Jim, do you want to introduce the third song out of 4 you've recorded for us today for Pop-Up Jim Bob TV? What's this one?
So the third one, I believe, is Barry's on Safari, open brackets, in his safari suit, close brackets.
Enjoy this one, viewers. We'll be back after this song.
Barry's on safari in his safari suit. Prince Charlie's gonna tell him what to shoot. Barry's got a place in mind where Barry's mantelpiece is. A place where Barry's gone to hang his first endangered species. Barry's at his desk working for a lawyer. The views expressed are not the views of his employer. Barry likes to speak his mind on Barry's social media, where he does his best to wind up everyone he meets there. Barry's in a pub drinking for England, declaring his love for the United Kingdom. Barry's in the Bill and Benny's in the Holborn Anchor, making Britain great again with Barry's racist banter. Barry's on safari in his safari suit.
That was Barry's on Safari. You will see that I've shared my screen. This is the new Jim Bob t-shirt we have coming out at the end of the week. We will notify you when. We're going to do these amazing pop-up Jim Bob shirts in a variety of colours, and they look amazing. And they feature 3 of the major characters, obviously, from the pop-up Jim Bob artwork. And you can win one of these. Yes, you can. You can win one of these. And that is great news. And to win it, all you have to do is answer this question. And the question is, everybody, can you give me a famous astronaut, pirate, and cowboy of your choice? I will decide if I regard them as famous enough, but just give us your favourite astronaut, pirate, or cowboy. Email that to Gary Sausages, all one word, at gmail.com with your name and address by Sunday the 23rd of August. And you can win one of 2 t-shirts in this competition, which I think, Jim, is a very great prize. Wouldn't you agree, Jim?
It's a fantastic prize. Yes,
So,
I'd like to win one myself.
So there we go. So, Jim, I think we are nearly there. I think that's it really for Pop-Up Jim Bob TV.
Yeah.
I was going to tell the viewers to please, if I haven't yet purchased the album, to purchase it. Doesn't it look great as a... and if you buy them both, of course, you do get still the covers mini album that, Jim, that you recorded. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I know. I saw that. Shouldn't really say it's on it, but if you buy the vinyl, I'm not suggesting you do this, but if you buy the vinyl, the CD, which comes with a calendar and a mini album of cover versions, it's the same price from Cherry Red as buying the redone version of 1992, the Love album, from a shop.
Look at that. And we don't control the price of that 1992 Love album, I'll hasten to add, not our pricing or choices or anything else. But exactly. And Jim, and people don't want to buy physical copies, even it does look wonderful. You can buy it on a digital download.
Yeah.
Of course.
Stream it if you want.
Stream it if you want. And
wait.
Go on, Jim.
Wait until it comes on the radio. Every 2 or 3 years, something will appear.
But I do think it's really, really worth listening to, and I hope you love the album as much as me. Because Jim, I think it's a work of genius, mate. So well done.
Yeah, I think it's a great swan song. Oh no, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah.
Don't say that. Never say never, Jim. I hope after 7 years away from writing new music, I hope we might get another album a lot quicker than 7 years. But let's focus on this one first and get maximum enjoyment from it, I feel.
Absolutely. Yes.
And Jim, we have been treated to a 4th song as well to finish off with and to close today's Pop-Up Jim Bob TV. So I'm going to let you say goodbye to the viewers and to introduce last song.
Okay, thank you for watching and for all your comments that we're replying to at this very moment in time. This to end it is the last song on the album, and this is funnily enough very apt to what's going on outside my window just now. This is called You're Cancelled and We're Done.
On the first nice day of summer, someone started burning tires. All the garden dogs were barking while their owners stayed inside. Me and Mrs. Jim Bob, like a pair of Robin Hoods, put some things into a backpack and took a bus ride to the woods. Now we wake up with a buzz and the early rising sun. This is our message to the world. You're cancelled and we're done.